if you've been keeping up with the transfer portal, you've been doing it by way of his reports, has been on this thing 24/7, night and day, covering NIL, covering the transfer portal. The man, the myth, the legend for us here at On 3, PD Portal, Pete Nakos. Pete, what's up, man? How we doing?
What's shaking, JD? How you doing, man?
Dude, you're a legend. I'm surprised that we're not catching you like mid-tweet right now.
No mid-tweet. All eyes on the hard count right now.
Good deal, man. Good deal. Well, we're glad you made some time, brother. Obviously, everything with Jim Harbaugh and Michigan is absolutely bonkers. And I think a lot of people's first thought is, okay, well, if you promote Sharon more, you kind of minimize that portal exodus. Is there anything you're hearing around Ann Arbor when it comes to potential portal earthquakes for Michigan?
You know, the Wolverine and On 3's Chris Ballas reported on Wednesday night that he thinks Sharon Moore, he's expected to be named the next head coach, Sharon Moore. And if that continues to track the way it is right now, I'd be really surprised if there's any big earthquake-esque portal entries.
Yeah, it's absolutely it's madness right now, because it feels like the metaphor I used was whenever you were like doing any kind of organized sports and you're doing a drill and somebody messes it up, you have to start the whole drill over again. Like, that's kind of how the portal feels. As soon as somebody takes another job, we restart the drill, the portal's back open, and it was supposed to close like the first week of January, and here we are talking about it closing some point in February. When it comes to teams that do the portal well right now, though, what would you say like the common strands are across the board for, okay, they crush the portal because they do 1, 2, and 3 that are the non-negotiables for success?
They have an elite brand. They have the opportunity to compete for a college football playoff spot, and their NIL program is in the top tier of college sports.
Interesting. So NIL, obviously something you cover closely. Is it still collectives? Is it sort of like another party around the school that plays a factor there? Like, how does that factor in for some of these top guys?
Well, most of the time it has to do with collectives and athletes being paid their roster value, right? Which is what we're going to get to with collective bargaining and revenue sharing down the road. But right now we call it roster value. That's what a collective pays an athlete. But yeah, I mean, I think the market's really matured, but at the same time, there's certain programs that are capable of paying athletes more than the other, and then that still matters.
Is this calendar going to change, Pete? Because like I just said, we're going into like February or March, and I know that's probably an impossible question to ask you, but I'm asking it anyway because you're the authority here. Are we going to find ourselves in the same spot next year where we keep hitting the reset button on the portal, or is it going to be something where we eventually get to a more structured formula in the future?
You know, I got text messages last night from some friends and family who were like, the 30-day window is back open for you. I'm like, thank you so much for the reminder. Do I think the calendar is going to change? I don't know if it's going to change quickly. I know there's a lot of conversation right now about trying to move it to the spring, maybe like May after classes end, so then the people don't have to worry about the academic calendar. But I don't see it really moving at the moment. And maybe we do get to like a new version of college football, maybe in either a year or 18 months or something like that, and that shifts everything. But until that happens, I don't see the calendar moving whatsoever.
And we talked about it on this show, like, I guess last week. I don't know what the right answer is. Like, I think everybody feels like something has to change. But if you move the window up, probably you hurt teams that are playing in the postseason because you decimated their depth. And if you move the window back, like, a lot of these guys probably know where they're going anyway through back channels, and that just messes everything up. And it's so late in the ad drop. Like, it feels like it's a mess. Outside of that, though, what teams have you been impressed with that are crushing the portal right now?
Well, you look at Ole Miss, you look at Louisville, you look at Ohio State, a few others. But, I mean, at this very moment, I would say that Arizona's done a hell of a job of keeping their roster together in the last 2 weeks. Obviously, Jed Fish goes to Washington, part of the Nick Saban domino effect, and Brent Brennan steps in. I mean, and like every day they continue to it seems like another athlete is withdrawing from the portal. And then obviously getting Noah Fafita back is huge for the Wildcats.
And how do they do that? Is that NIL saying, hey, we're going to make sure we take care of you to stay here? Is the staff having the right conversations? How do you retain a roster when your head coach leaves, like Arizona is?
Yeah, I think my read on the situation is that the new coaching staff is coming in and had some really important and impactful conversations. I also think that when you have someone like Noah Fafita come back, right, like I think that is a domino effect in the locker room of like, okay, my quarterback's coming back. I know all of a sudden that we can probably win a Big 12 title now. Like, I want to be a part of this. I think the other thing too is, I mean, you mentioned NIL. I'm sure that's a role, but the other thing too is, right, like Washington was a perfect product in 2023. I'm not sure if it's going to be in 2024. So I think a lot of those players maybe had second thoughts about joining Jetfish in Seattle, and maybe they want to win immediately opposed to joining a project.
We had Shea Dixon on this show yesterday talking about that second portal window, because there's going to be a lot of teams that still have needs. Like if you're talking about Michigan, who knows if they're happy with Alex Orji or if they want to go and grab someone in that second portal window, kind of like Auburn did with Peyton Thorne. He was saying he thinks that second portal window is going to have the heat turned up relative to last year. Like we might see more craziness. Is that something you're hearing or anticipating, or what can we expect from this second window post-spring?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard for the last 2 weeks now that people think it's going to be 10 times more chaotic than what we just saw. And that's crazy to think. But I mean, look at a few factors, right? So collectives will have time to get some money in the war chest. The personnel directors at each program are going to have time to look at film and really evaluate where they need a player or two. So then they're going to approach that portal window with a very, they're going to nitpick almost, like they know what they need. And then, yeah, I mean, I think at the same time, too, it's the last chance for athletes to make that last-ditch effort to leave a program if they don't think they're going to play in 2024, or maybe it's the last chance to get the dollars that they want.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about Deion Sanders when we're talking about the portal. Because on one hand, it feels like the buzz you hear is, hey, Colorado's not an ATM. They're not a Tier 1 NIL kind of school. But you see them continue to go after a high quantity of guys within the portal. Is it just the Coach Prime effect? Like, hey, come play for me and you'll get a lot of exposure and be able to, improve your brand that way? Or how is Colorado and Coach Prime being so effective in the portal with a lesser NIL standing, or so it seems?
I think a few things. First off, I mean, a lot of people just want to straight up play for Deion Sanders. Like, that cannot be discounted. The other thing, though, that Deion Sanders in Colorado offers that arguably no other program in the country does is if you play for the Buffs, Deion Sanders might post about you on social media. Like your social media value is probably going to skyrocket. And also the YouTube channels they run, and you look at how profitable and marketable Travis Hunter's become in the last 18 months through working with Deion's son. And it might not be the most money up front, but at the end of the day, you might walk out of there with a really important social media profile that could carry on for years to come.
That's interesting, yeah, because it's one of those things where it's like, hey, come here and create some value for yourself with our tools, right, and you'll be able to be in good standing from an NIL perspective.
Exactly.
Now, for Florida State, it seems like they scout the portal as well as anybody, hitting on guys like Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. Like, across the board, they just seem like they've been a little bit ahead of everybody. Is it based on what they have in-house doing such a good job proactively, or how is Florida State able to crush it on the portal side of things as well?
I think it's everything in Tallahassee. I think that the coaching staff is all moving as one right now. They know what they need. They know what they want. They've really been able to reconnect with some old recruitments too, right? You look at Marvin Jones, who went to Georgia. Now he's at Florida State. I mean, the Seminoles almost got him the first time around. And then past that, yeah, I mean, they have one of the elite NIL programs in the country, and they're able to make some really strong, pretty attractive offers.
Man, it's a crazy time in college football right now, and it seems like it's just continuing to evolve. Pete, I appreciate you, man. Let's get you some sleep here before the second portal window. And I guess we're still in this first portal window, so hopefully there's like a couple days you can get vacation in there. But regardless,
I'm hoping like 2 weeks.
Okay, good. A little bit of time, hopefully. But
I appreciate you, though, JD.
Say that again?
I said I appreciate you.
Man, we appreciate you making some time for us here in the Hardcat, man. We'll do it again here real soon.
You bet. Sounds good, man.
Pete Nakos, man. I'm telling you. One of the best in the industry, period. And the way that he's crushing the portal coverage, again, second to none. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.